Hello class, my name is Bill Weiss. I'll be your instructor this semester for Homeland Security course number 452. We have 4 or 5 students in the class, so it's a very small class. Of course, it's online. And I just want to give you an introduction to the course. First, if you want an introduction to me, you can read my bio on Blackboard. Basically, I'm a 31-year law enforcement officer, retired from the North Carolina State Bureau, and you can read my bio and find out what I've done in my career.
First thing I want you to do, though, is to look at the syllabus, and that in order to do that, you need to get onto Blackboard, go into the content area, and click on the syllabus content title, and bring that up, and I want you to study the syllabus very carefully. I also would like you to print that out so you always have it with you. There's a lot of good information and important information in that syllabus that you're going to have to know and have to abide by in order to do well in this course. Now also, make sure you have the book. This is the book we're going to be using this year, or this semester. And Terrorism and Homeland Security by Jonathan White. It is the 9th edition, and it's the new edition for that textbook that we're using this semester. This will be the first time we're using that 9th edition. I also want you to look at Blackboard itself, the course itself, and go through the content areas and make sure you're familiar with where to find all the different things that we're going to be addressing this semester, and the help buttons and where you can find your different assignments, and especially in weekly content. That's where each week you'll find what needs to be covered by you for each week. Now, one of the things we will be doing is a research journal, weekly research journal. The instructions for that journal can be found on the syllabus and also on Blackboard. But basically, it's a 1-page research journal each week, minimum of 600 words. It has to be cited and referenced, a minimum of 3 references, which does not include the textbook or Wikipedia or any of the online encyclopedias. And an example of what I'm looking for is found on Blackboard within that research journal. I know a couple of the students in this class have had me as an instructor before, and they'll be very familiar with this research journal. If you have any questions about it after you read the instructions, and familiarize yourself with what I want, and also read the, or at least look at and scan the example of a good research journal. If you have any questions, certainly send me an email. Which brings us to another point. If you need to get in contact with me, you can reach me by email, and that would be the easiest way. Normally, I check my email 2 or 3 times a day. At least once a day, and I'll respond promptly, so if you need to get in touch with me. There will be no discussion boards during this semester. This is a 400 level course. We only have 4 or 5 students in there. I don't want to tie you up in doing that assignment. I'd rather you concentrate more on the research journals. We will also have a midterm exam in week 3, which will cover weeks 1 through 3. And then we'll have a final cumulative exam in week 8, and that will cover the other weeks, 4 through 8. Also in this textbook, Terrorism and Homeland Security, I am assuming that everybody has the prerequisite for this course, which was the Homeland Security 350. Now in 350 you learned a lot of fundamental and basic information about terrorism,
And you studied a little bit about some of the groups, but it was a basic foundational course. This is an advanced course. So I'm not going to make you read, or I don't want you to read. You can if you want to. But if you want to read the other chapters in the book that essentially duplicate what you've learned in Terrorism 350, go right ahead. But in this particular book, as you'll see on the syllabus, we're going to start with Chapter 6 and only cover 6 chapters for the whole semester, and that have to do with specific terrorism groups or situations or information that lends itself to the understanding of these terrorist groups. As far as grading is concerned, the journals will be worth 30% of your grade. The midterm exam is 30%, and the final exam is 30%. And then there's 10% left over. That will be class participation. And that, of course, we don't have a in-class curriculum here, but class participation also involves whether you get your work in on time, whether you follow directions, and things like that. That is 10% of your final grade. One of the most important things you have to do, and where most students lose the points, is number one, either not getting your assignments in on time or not following directions. And this goes back to the weekly journals. I read every single word of your weekly journal. I make bubble comments and insert them into your journals when I grade them. I make comments at the end of the journal summarizing what I saw in the journal. I expect you to read those comments every week before you submit your next week's journal. If you do not do that, you'll automatically lose 10 points. And you say to yourself, well, how is he going to know whether I review it? Well, Blackboard gives me a time date stamp on when you access that graded journal and how long you stay on that. So I assume if you've accessed your graded journal and you stay on there for any reasonable length of time, that you're reviewing that journal, and that's how I determine that situation. I'm really looking forward to this class. I always like teaching terrorism. It's fascinating. It's something that's changing in the world as we speak. Some of the things that we'll talk about are very current events. Some of them are historical events. Some of the journal subjects I'm asking you to research have to do with historical figures or historical events, and many of them have to do with the current terrorist situation globally. So anyway, if you have any questions, give me a shout on the email. Other than that, pay attention to the numerous announcements that I will be making and putting onto Blackboard. Please read them. That's important information. If you are late or I don't see an assignment submitted, I will send you a personal email and make sure there's no problem with the computer not cooperating with your uploading your papers or taking your tests. And if you give the effort to do well in this class, you will do well. But once again, number one is get that textbook and read the assignments. I guarantee you will not do well on the midterm exam or the final exam if you have not read your assignments. If you have any questions, give me a holler, and I'm looking forward to the class. Thanks.